Hello, this is James from Games Radar, and I'm joined by Alex Dale from Official Xbox Magazine.
Hi, James.
Hello. It's pretty much the end of day one here. As you can see behind us, the crowds are streaming out of the convention centre. But just before it ended, Alex, you got the chance to go and see Tomb Raider on the show floor.
That's right, it was actually a behind closed doors showing. They showed two different areas which they didn't show. One was set in Siberia, where Lara's been separated from her teammate, Jonah, and she's stripped of all her gear and she's got to craft. There's a heavy emphasis on crafting, and they showed us how she fights without any of her gear. And this sort of, like Tomb Raider often gets comparisons to Uncharted on the Sony side. This part actually played out more like The Last of Us, where she's pulling out branches and twigs and mushrooms and making arrows out of them, and then using these arrows not necessarily to fight, because she hasn't got enough to take on an entire crowd of goons, but instead firing it off to create a distraction, sneaking over. And in the section we saw, she actually polished them all off. She isolated a radio, threw that to get everyone all in the same place, and basically chucked a gasoline tank at it. Not the most subtle way, but it's certainly effective.
Yeah, nasty. Now, losing all of her friends and losing all of her gear, to anyone who's played the original Tomb Raider reboot, it sounds quite familiar. How are they building or improving on what they've done before?
Well, they're expanding on the crafting part of it. There's a lot more like you can get a bow, you can strengthen it by finding things that you get, and it becomes like a domino effect. Eventually, you've got enough gear to take down a bear that's hoarding like yet more stuff. You can use that bear pelt as classed as an exotic thing to create more and more better gear. And you have these hub worlds, about very similar to the hub worlds in the 2013 reboot, but 3 times as large and hiding secrets. So to create a example that was used there, once you can kill the bears, you can access these extra areas and they sort of unfold in front of you, a lot more like a Metroid game in that sense.
Okay, so visually we saw it at the Xbox conference. It's obviously had a marked improvement from the reboot before. Did you see anything that really stood out for you?
Graphically, it's a really stunning game actually. The part that stood out for me was actually the second gameplay slice they showed, which is actually in Syria. Takes place before the Siberian action in storyline terms, and this is a lot more traditional sort of Uncharted-esque sort of climbing action, and it takes us right at the top of this sort of abandoned city, sort of breathtaking visas. You can climb over, there's a bridge that sort of collapses behind her in the sort of unlucky style that she has, and then it sort of takes us from there, from the heights of the mountains, sort of deep into these murky caverns where these scorpions and sort of remains of skeletons around you. Really murky, but really atmospheric.
Awesome, it sounds great. So that's our first look at Tomb Raider here from E3 2015. Hopefully, in this time, we'll actually go and raid some tombs in the game. There weren't so much of them in the last one, but we've been promised, I think, this time there will be actual tomb raiding this time. So join us later on tonight for our Who Won E3 show at 9 AM Pacific, 5 AM UK time, and you can see if Tomb Raider made our list.